Every matchup is officially set, and this one team was done slightly dirty, even though they were one of the best teams in their conference. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be predicting every first round matchup of the Western Conference in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, in case you missed it, the Dallas Stars, they win the Central Division, and they now have to face the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round, which I don't think their fan base is too happy about. And hey, guess what? Both Thomas Hertl and Mark Stone are back. Now, before we get into the matchups today, I will also be posting my bracket challenge sometime this weekend. So this is sort of a sneak peek into that. We're just going to be going through the first round just because I did it for the East, and I know you guys kind of like that formatted video. So what we're going to do is we're going to predict each round, talk about who I think is the better edge in all of these matchups, and then at a later time, you guys will get to see my full bracket challenge as well. So let's get right into today's video and start with the first matchup, which is the Dallas Stars versus the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights, they are the wild card 2 seed after winning the Stanley Cup last year, and this doesn't really feel like a reward for the Dallas Stars. I think that Vegas is going to be heavily favored in this matchup for some reason. Even with Dallas being the 1 seed, I just think that if you're a hockey fan, you know what this team is hiding under that wild card 2 seed. They have Mark Stone coming back from LTIR as well as Thomas Hertl. Their roster is just incredibly deep, and they obviously have the experience and the wherewithal to be able to make a deep cup run. Now, here's the difference between these two teams. For one, they both have deep forward groups and very strong defenses. I do think that Vegas beats them in the defensive department, but I also think that Dallas has the edge in the goaltending department. Adin Hill has been injured and kind of back and forth with his production all year long, and I think that when it comes to matchups across the entire league, this is probably the most evenly matched one, and the one we saw last year in the conference finals. So we're kind of getting a treat here, seeing a conference finals matchup in the first round. Now, taking a look at this matchup, I like Dallas to win this out in 7. I think that their forward group all year long, they've been getting production from every single guy. They have multiple guys over 40 points this year, probably multiple guys over 50 points at this point, I feel like, with their leading goal scorer being Jason Robertson with 80 points. I just think that this team is built and ready for a deep playoff run. Whereas Vegas, I do see them doing it, but I think the problem with Vegas is going to be the chemistry. Noah Hanifin has only had a few weeks under the Vegas Golden Knights system. Thomas Hertl has played only a handful of games, and Mark Stone, of course, is going to be coming back from a pretty serious spleen injury. So who knows what kind of production you're going to get from him. If Jake Ottinger becomes that playoff otter that we all know and love, then Dallas should win this pretty easily. But if he struggles a little bit out of the gate and Adin Hill does what he did last year in the playoffs, then I could see this series going sideways for the Stars. But I'm pretty high on them this year, so I have them winning this series in 7. But this isn't exactly a first round series you want to play a team against, because that's going to give you a lot of fatigue when you're playing a serious team like the Vegas Golden Knights. Moving on to the next matchup in the West, we have the Winnipeg Jets versus the Colorado Avalanche, and this one, it's easily the hardest series to predict. When we're talking about the Stars versus Vegas, sure, you could go either way, and I don't think anybody's really upset if you pick Vegas or if you pick Dallas. They're both kind of just really legit teams that could go all the way. But when it comes to this series, I see flaws in both of these teams, and I'm not really sure which flaw is worse than the other. For starters, with the Winnipeg Jets, I think their offense has been pretty solid this year, and of course their goaltending has been elite, but I'm a little bit weary of their defense. I like Josh Morrissey, but outside of that, I don't see a guy who can really, push this team defensively to beat the Avalanche, and that's a pretty high scoring team if you look at their roster, especially with the way Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen have played this year. When it comes to the Avalanche, though, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Jets from scoring either. Georgiev looks incredibly fatigued. I think they overused him this year, and his play has been inconsistent because of how much time he's had to put in net. When it comes to this series, I do think that Winnipeg has the slight edge. The last game they played against each other, they destroyed them 7-0, and I don't think that that's going to have any real implications on this series, but I do think it gave Winnipeg the confidence to say, hey, if we meet these guys in the first round, we can score with them, and we also can keep them off the scoreboard, which for a team like Winnipeg, that's a big thing for them. I also think that Winnipeg, with some of the attendance issues they had early on this year, and now seeing Arizona get kicked out of the league and relocated to Utah, I think that they also want to give their fans kind of that hope that, hey, we're a competing team and we're going to be sticking around for a while. So I think Winnipeg has a lot more riding on this team this year than Colorado does. giving them that slight edge. I do think that this series is going to go to 7 as well, but I do see Winnipeg taking out the Colorado Avalanche because of their goaltending problems. Moving on to the third series in this conference, we have the Vancouver Canucks versus the Nashville Predators. Man, both of these teams have been such fun stories to watch all year. I didn't want them to play in the first round because I wanted to pick them both. But taking a look at both of their rosters and just kind of talking about what we can see analytically, I just think that the Canucks have a slight edge in almost every category. Their power play is a little bit better, their penalty kills a little bit better, goals against is better, as well as their goals per game. And of course, we know that JT Miller has just been a unit for them, as well as Elias Pettersson. Quinn Hughes is most likely going to win the Norris, and if Thatcher Demko was healthy all year, he easily could have won the Vezina as well. I just think that the Canucks have a slight edge in this series, and this isn't just me picking favorites. I think Nashville got a little bit too hot too early, and now they're going to kind of simmer down when it comes to the playoffs. I just think that Vancouver should be able to handle them in this series pretty easily. I do think that Nashville will give them a little bit of a fight, taking them to about 6 games, but I think that maybe they're missing 1 or 2 pieces that would really push them into that conversation of beating the Vancouver Canucks. So the Canucks are beating the Nashville Predators, in my opinion, in 6 games for this series. I think it will be a little bit tighter than you might think, and maybe Nashville could pull it off, but I just don't see Vancouver collapsing like that. That would be kind of a crazy thing to predict. And let's move on to the last series in this conference. We have the third time around in a series against the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Now, over the last 2 series, the Edmonton Oilers have beaten them once in 7 games and the other time in 6 games. It felt like the Los Angeles Kings had a chance early on this season, and if you had asked me, say, around November, December, who I would have winning this matchup, I think everybody would have said the Kings. But now I'm not too sure. For one, the Edmonton Oilers, they look fantastic with Connor McDavid looking in his vintage form, as well as other guys like Hyman and Draisaitl playing incredible hockey as well. Stuart Skinner has been a pleasant surprise for the Oilers in the second half of the year. While the Kings, they were almost a wild card 2 spot. They barely clinched the 3rd in the division, and I'm not sure if they would have rather played Dallas just because of the history with the Oilers. But just looking at the analytics between these 2 teams, the Oilers had more points this year. Goals per game, they had a 3.56 versus the LA Kings 3.1. Goals against per game, they had a 2.88 to compare it to LA's 2.56. Power play, 26% versus LA's 22%. And penalty kill, the LA Kings have a better penalty kill with an 84% compared to the Oilers 79%. Now, is this series really going to come down to special teams? Probably. I think whoever's power play is more hot is going to allow them to take the advantage in this series. But for me, I think that the Oilers are going to win it. I think this is the 3rd time around, and I think that they're playing for more here than the LA Kings are. You have expiring contracts with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl coming up. This team is hungry. They want to win. There's a lot more pressure over in Edmonton than there is in LA, and I think most people wouldn't really be too upset with LA losing this series because of how their season has gone. I think LA will be good for the next couple of years as well, so we're going to see them back in this position, but I think that the Edmonton Oilers are competing for a lot more this year, so I see them putting up a better fight against the LA Kings than the Kings, vice versa. But these are my predictions here. I have the Dallas Stars winning in their series against Vegas in 7, the Winnipeg Jets also winning in their series in 7, the Canucks taking the Nashville Predators in 6, and I don't think I made my predictions for the Oilers, but I see them beating the LA Kings in 6 as well. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you have winning in the first round matchups of the Western Conference Stanley Cup Finals? And keep an eye out, I'll be posting my full bracket challenge in the next few days. Thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one.